And now enjoy this free Jason Modcast show.
What are you?
I'm Batman.
Who are you?
My name is Bond. I'm Batman.
Name's Bond.
James Bond.
I'm Batman.
Bond. James Bond. I'm Batman. I'm Batman.
This is the Batman vs. James Bond show. The show covering everything related to Batman and James Bond movies. And now, here's your host, Brian Thomas.
Hello everyone and welcome back to an all-new episode of the Batman vs. James Bond show. The name's Thomas, Brian Thomas, and I am your host. And this is the show where we discuss everything related to Batman and James Bond movies. It is great to be back. Whew, been a long week. I hope all of you have had a great week. Mine was, well, if you listened to the last episode, you know what happened this weekend, or if you checked out my Instagram, I just moved. Me and the wife, we decided it's time to get out of apartment life, and we decided to move into a slightly bigger home. And, so there's a new bat cave, there's a new studio, and what's nice is hopefully the sound is going to be even better for you guys. I'm really looking forward to that. I have my, my cosplay bat suit specifically lined up, tried to get it like, kind of how, if I had to picture if Batman were living in a house, just a typical house, and if he had just his own little man cave, how would he put his costume in his closet? So I kind of arranged it like that, so every time I open up the closet, I want to, you see the costume, you see everything, you see like the armor, you see the cowl, you see the gauntlets, and you see my new bat belt, and every time I open it, I want to just have like a little spotlight that just shines on it or whatever. I want to pull like a Christian Bale. I want to pull like a Ben Affleck where I put my handprint on there and nobody else can open it but me. But, unfortunately, I can't do that because obviously I'm not Batman. Anyway, though, so the move is all done and, it's smooth sailing from here, hopefully. And, I'm looking forward to, this new Bat Cave, shall we call it. And, so anyway, at the time of recording, we are less than 2 weeks away from the premiere of Suicide Squad. Can you feel it? Because I don't know about you, but I mean, it just feels like every time I talk about this, it's like, okay, we're a month away. We're 3 weeks away. Now we're only 2 weeks away. The next time we'll be recording, it'll only be 1 week away. And for those of you that are doing what I do, I usually go to the movies on a Thursday night just to catch that early premiere. And if you haven't bought your Suicide Squad tickets, then you know what you got to do. Go buy your tickets now. I don't know what location the listeners are in right now. But depending on where you are, I don't expect, like I said, it to be sold out. And even so, it's just the peace of mind of knowing that you purchase your Suicide Squad tickets. This movie is definitely happening. We get it's going to be a third Batman movie, but I will talk about that in a second. Obviously, I'm really pumped about this. I'm really excited about this. All the TV spots are out for this, and there's even clips that debuted, and we'll talk about that also in a few. And it's hard not to, I always say about spoilers, and maybe I haven't told you about it. I don't like spoilers, especially when it's a movie that I'm highly anticipated about. It's hard not to go onto the internet. When I do this podcast, I try to keep it as spoiler-free, depending on what I'm talking about. If it's new news, then, if there's some kind of, possible spoiler about something that's going to happen, I try not to report it, or I just say, okay, here's the link, read at your own risk, and so forth, and, have at it. But, in this case, I mean, I have to give it, right off the top here, I will give it to Warner Brothers and DC Comics or DC Entertainment, because even watching these trailers and these TV spots, there hasn't been much. We don't know too many things about what's going to happen with this. And I love that. Compared to other movies, say Batman v Superman, I'm not bashing on it, but I will say that the third trailer for that, where it's the one that ends off where, is she with you? I thought she was with you. That one. And, Wonder Woman pops in there at the end. It's just like, okay, well, you just spoiled the whole movie. I know what I'm going to see, but, shut up and take my money anyway because I want to go see that movie. And I still enjoyed it. Now, with this, it's just like, I like going in just it's fresh. I have no idea what to expect. And that makes me more anticipated about this. I did the same thing last time I saw Spectre. I mean, I had an idea, when I saw the trailers, I saw the TV spots. I'm like, okay, it's kind of pushing it. Maybe I saw more than I should have, but I love trailers and I love TV spots, and it's really kind of hard if you have a TV or you have internet access, if you have cable, whatever. It's out there, and you're just so tempted not to touch it, but you got to. So, I talked about this just a minute ago, that how we actually are going to have 3 Batman movies this year. Now, I haven't had a chance to really talk about this because it snuck up on me. So I will say this: a programming note for next week. With Batman the Killing Joke, which is premiering Monday, July 25th, or probably at the time you're listening to this, is also going to be in theaters on July 26th as well. Go get your tickets. I think it's on Fathom Events. I'm going to see it in AMC theaters. Besides the point, though, we're getting 3 Batman movies this year. Batman v Superman, Batman Killing Joke, and then Suicide Squad. How's about that? Yeah. I will be doing an all-episode review of The Killing Joke on my next episode, so I'll probably be releasing it sometime during the week. When I see the movie, I always like to let it set in right before I go and talk about it, so it might be a couple days afterwards, or I might just wait till the weekend, because I'm probably going to be really excited about it, and I just want to gather all my thoughts and so forth and put them together. So anyway, so stay tuned for that. So we have bigger fish to fry, as they like to say. So before we get things started here, I would like to remind everyone to please subscribe to the Batman vs. James Bond show on Spreaker and iTunes and leave a nice little review for me on there. Thank you. Now, as I always like to mention, this spiel never gets old, or at least maybe for me anyway, especially for the new listeners, because you haven't listened before. Welcome. So I am not a movie critic. Obviously, I am not a blogger for any kind of movie site. As of now, no. I'm just a guy who is obsessed with Batman and James Bond. Check out my Instagram, and you can see how big of a fan I am on there, because I'm still continuing, released Villains Part 2 last week. If you hadn't had a chance to check that out, I put a Villains 2 episodes, as a matter of fact, of Villains from the Batman and James Bond movie cinema universes. And, Part 1, it's more concentrated on everything from Sean Connery, George Lazenby, Roger Moore, and Timothy Dalton. And then it's the first couple Batman movies with Michael Keaton, and then there's Val Kilmer, and then there's George Clooney. And then Part 2 is Christian Bale and now Ben Affleck, and then it's Pierce Brosnan and Daniel Craig era. And I really enjoy doing those episodes, and I think come this September, I'll be doing something similar to it. Stay tuned for that. So, as we get started here, there was something else going on this weekend, and it's crossing my mind. What was it? Oh, yeah. San Diego Comic-Con 2016. SDCC, hashtag SDCC, whatever you want to call it. Comic-Con International, the biggest Comic-Con, or at least I consider it the biggest Comic-Con of all. The granddaddy of Comic-Cons, anyway, over in San Diego, California. When we think Comic-Con now, it's, it used to be back in the day, it used to be just comics and, collectibles and so forth. Now it just seems to be the place for studios just, and this has always been back and forth too, at least for Warner Brothers now, because this is more Warner Brothers concentrated because of the Batman movies. Warner Brothers is definitely the one who's been making the big splash the last couple of years, and I'm not saying that because I'm a DC fanboy. Still got to show love to Marvel. There's always got to be competition out there, and competition never hurts, right? So when DC and Warner Brothers come out to Comic-Con, or we always, especially now that they've gotten their new universe started up, we're just like, what are they going to bring? What are they going to bring? Well, at last we heard that it was going to be Suicide Squad, the whole cast that was going to be out there, director David Ayer, and we knew that Wonder Woman was going to be premiering a new trailer out there. But there was nothing out there about Justice League, and, I talked about it last week. I'm like, well, if I had to make a prediction, then what was going to happen is, back when the movie blog websites they were granted access to the set of Justice League, they got to see, they report a whole bunch of stuff about, like, there was a scene with Ben Affleck meeting with the character Ezra Miller, who plays the Flash. And in other words, it's Bruce Wayne meeting Barry Allen for the first time, and he kind of sneaks into, like, I don't know exactly what it is. Maybe it's his apartment. There's a whole bunch of computers and so forth. You see the Flash suit. And see, I'm so excited about this. I haven't even had any caffeine today, so bear with me. So as they are showing the scene, all we heard was feedback. We hadn't seen anything, but we always heard that it was obviously kind of, it was more comedic, if you will. It was more kind of not jokey or whatever, but it was just like they had that chemistry in there. So my prediction was last week is that, okay, well, if they were filming it, then there's no reason why they couldn't bring something like that. If you come to a Comic-Con, you can't just, well, at least in my mind anyway, and I think the fans will feel this the same way too, that if you come to a Comic-Con such as this, if you're going to bring all these actors, then you have to bring something to show to the people who paid all that admission to get in there. Give them a treat, because they, like I said, they're the ones who paid to get there. They're the ones that were able to score that golden ticket, so give them something anyway. And, if it's, a panel interview, if they're able to sneak into that question to the cast or the director, awesome. But, if it's a new picture, if it's a new logo, anything like that. So what ended up happening was that, and I'm kind of skipping back and forth here with how they did, Warner Brothers did their panel, but let's just skip right to the big dog here. Justice League, it ended up being that, Zack Snyder was there. They did a whole panel of just the directors of, future Warner Brothers movies. Ended up being the director of Wonder Woman, Patty Jenkins, the new director of Flash. His name escapes me. James Wan, who's going to be directing Aquaman. Zack Snyder, who's doing Justice League. Ben Affleck even came out there, and he's doing the Batman movie. So there you go. It's officially confirmed. Not that I don't think that it never was, but it's a really, not a relief, but it's just like, he's directing. If it's really happening, Ben Affleck is really doing his own Batman movie. It's really happening. Yeah. David Ayer was out there with Suicide Squad, but it ended up being where they brought Zack Snyder back out, and Conan O'Brien's doing the whole panel for this, and it was awesome. And what ended up happening was, him and Zack Snyder were kind of joking around, saying, "Oh, you brought somebody with you, didn't you? Or brought some people with you?" And what he does is, Ben Affleck comes right back out on stage. Gal Gadot comes right back on the stage because she was just promoting Wonder Woman. You have Ezra Miller come out in some kind of wizard costume. You have the guy who's playing Cyborg, and my God, his name escapes me again. Oh my goodness, this is not the night for that. Jason Momoa came out looking like, he just filmed a hair salon commercial, or like Pantene Pro V commercial, or at the backstage or something like that. And they're like, well, somebody's missing, because you can't have a Justice League without Superman. Yes, Henry Cavill did end up showing up, of course. And here's the funny thing about Henry Cavill. I don't know if anybody's had a chance to see it, and I'll try to find it for you guys if you haven't. Henry Cavill pulled like a little trick on his Instagram, and so what he did is he put this mask, and it's the mask from V for Vendetta, and it's very similar to what he did when he was promoting Batman v Superman, because some little S made a comment saying, "Oh, well, how can people not tell it's you with your glasses on between Clark Kent and Superman?" So what did he do? He went out in a Superman t-shirt in the middle of New York, like around Times Square. And this is Henry Cavill, okay? Henry Cavill is, I'd say he's becoming a well-known name, and it's not like he's easy on the eyes at all either. And he's walking around, he's wearing his jacket. It's like probably like spring, maybe winter, springtime. He's wearing his jacket, he's wearing a Superman t-shirt, and he's walking around. No one stops him. So he pulled something very similar to this, in the fact that he wore his V for Vendetta mask. He's like, okay, let's see what happens. And he just walks around Comic-Con. He's getting pictures with other people, but everybody thinks it's just a character from V for Vendetta, nothing else. And all of a sudden, what does he do? He sneaks up to where they're signing autographs for Suicide Squad, and he poses for a picture with Will Smith, and he takes off his mask right away. Will Smith looks over and is like, oh my God. And then he realizes who it is, and he laughs, and then you see Amanda Waller, the actress who plays Viola Davis. Yeah, Viola Davis is getting a kick out of it too. So, I really like that, and just given, as a fan anyway, I mean, everybody knows by now that I love Man of Steel, and, I love Henry Cavill as Superman. And the fact that, he has that kind of lighthearted tone, and he's able to be playful like that. I really enjoy that. So that's what happened with the panel. And then all of a sudden, they say, oh, well, you know what? I guess, if we're coming to Comic-Con, we have to bring footage. People expect that. So first they show a picture, and I posted this on Instagram too, at Batman versus Bond. They post a picture of all the heroes of all the Justice League in their costumes, something like we've seen before from the concept art, but it ends up being like more of an official picture. And, I gotta say, it looks great. If we're focusing on anything, it's going to be the Batman suit. And this Batman suit, I think I like better than the Batman suit that was in Batman v Superman. To describe it off the top of my head, it's almost resembles everything that the gray suit, and we're not talking the armored suit here, we're talking the gray suit that he wore primarily when Ben Affleck was Batman. And the difference is, and we kind of heard about this, is that it's going to have more of an armored look, so I guess he learned from his mistakes, if you will. And sorry, I watched The Dark Knight before I started recording this, and what happened is that, probably maybe after his fight with Superman and after realizing, all the gods and so forth, that he needs to step it up because, a rubber suit's not going to cut it anymore. So it has a more armored look to it, and it's darker grayer. It's not black, but it's very, very close. Even the cowl looks slightly different, but I'm trying to pick up on what the differences are. But I will say that I really, really dig this suit. I also saw it in the trailer too, and it looks amazing. I don't want to go as far as saying it's one of the top 3 bat suits, because I remember I was doing an episode of that saying what my favorite bat suits are, and this might fall under it. And it's something about, I liked the gray suit, I really did. But this one, maybe it's the more armored look, maybe it's because it's more black. I have no idea. But besides the point, so they did end up releasing a teaser, more of a kind of, it's a teaser. It's more of just like footage put together to be a teaser. And I mean, not saying that's not what a teaser is, but it's just like, they've only been filming since about April, give or take. So obviously they're not going to have too much to show yet. And, especially with the Zack Snyder film, there's going to be more like post-production on it and post-CGI and so forth on it. But somehow they did have, some stuff in there that obviously did require CGI. So if you haven't had a chance, first of all, pause this show. Yes, I did say pause it. Watch the trailer and then come back and listen to my analysis on it. But, I'm going to do a quick one anyway. Okay, so hopping right into the trailer, it kind of starts off like with this dark tone, and it has that same kind of dark tone that I would say even Batman v Superman had, and even Man of Steel. And I gotta say, it looked great. So, it's like kind of like a town hall meeting, and you hear Bruce Wayne talking, and he's talking, saying how there's this man who's kind of saving the needy in a way by bringing fish and just kind of saving them and so forth. And all of a sudden you see Jason Momoa just stand up, and he's got this kind of like, he has to have these white eyes in a way, and just has this look like, what the F are you doing here? Leave me alone. So as the trailer goes on, it's just Bruce Wayne narrating, saying he's putting together this team of extraordinary people, superpowered or whatever, because something bad's happening and so forth. And in other words, it's just him going around recruiting people. Obviously Aquaman, even though his name is never officially mentioned. Like I said, the Barry Allen scene is still my favorite part of this trailer, and it was probably one of the longer scenes in this. And I think there was a reason they did this. But so to set it up real quick for those of you that didn't see this, it's Bruce Wayne is sitting in kind of like this apartment, and there's, like I said, there's a whole bunch of computers in it, and there's the Flash suit, and Barry Allen, he kind of like sneaks up on Barry Allen. Barry Allen's like, what are you doing here? And he's like, I'm Bruce Wayne. And he's like, ooh, and that's supposed to mean what to me? And then what ends up happening is he's like, I'm putting together a team, and I think that, you can help and so forth. And he still has no idea Barry Allen has no idea what's going on. So what does Bruce Wayne do? He throws a batarang at him, and it all of a sudden everything goes into slow motion. Barry Allen's looking at like, oh my God, you're him. You're Batman. So after the slow motion stops, we see the Batarang disappear. Barry Allen's holding it. And then Bruce Wayne says, I'm putting together a team. And then all of a sudden, Barry Allen jumps right in, says, I'm in. And Bruce Wayne's like, just like that? And he's like, yeah, I don't have friends. And, and Bruce Wayne's like, it has this relief, and this is what makes the scene so great. It's because Bruce Wayne, Ben Affleck, is being so serious and, being so dark in this. He's like, I'm putting together a team. And all of a sudden he's like, really? You'll join my team? That's great. And it was great. And Barry Allen's like, can I keep this? And he's holding the batarangs. And then it just like goes into, we see some shots of the superheroes. We see actually a shot of Wonder Woman. She's in costume and she's kind of doing her arm cross in a way. We do see a shot of her with Bruce Wayne, possibly in the Batcave. I'm only speculating right now because I've only watched the trailer only like at least 100 million times, but still hard to tell what's going on here because, like I said, everything's kind of clipped and put together, but still. We see Bruce Wayne kind of like an argument with Aquaman, but even though he's not really referred to as Aquaman, he's only referred to as Arthur Curry. And, it's like what does he do? Oh, yeah, Aquaman kind of throws up Bruce Wayne against the wall. And if I didn't mention this, then Bruce Wayne is kind of bearded in that, which kind of had me thinking, like, what's going on here? I wonder if, like, there's been some time that's passed by since Batman v Superman. I wonder if it's been, like, fast forward, like, 6 months later, 8 months later, for some odd reason, and then that's when their Bruce Wayne has been just trying to track down all these characters along with Wonder Woman, and maybe that's because he was kind of grieving over what happened with Superman. So that's just a thought anyway. So as this goes on, we actually see a shot of Cyborg. He's in costume. We see that a couple times. He has an interaction with Batman at the very end of the trailer. Ends up being where, I didn't think you were real. And he's like, only when I need to be. And that was the end of the trailer. So all things considered with this, what I like, as I said, it still has that darker gray. I don't know. It's something about how when Zack Snyder shoots these films, it has that kind of grayish, kind of darker tone to it. And when I'm not talking about the tone of the movie, I'm just saying how the film actually looks when you see it on screen. And I like that. And it's still separating itself. It's like I said, the look of it does resemble very much of Man of Steel and especially Justice League. I don't know if he's having the same director of photography. I'd be very interested to know that. Or maybe it's just how Zack Snyder likes to shoot his movies. Kind of like, it's like almost like a trademark, like say J.J. Abrams has his lens flare, then this would be Zack Snyder's kind of lens flare. Obviously, the biggest thing that the Warner Brothers was trying to do in this, and Howard said, like when it let the movie bloggers have their set visit, was the kind of lighter tone, if you will. And, it's there, and there's more jokes in a way, or more humor. Yeah, humor is the best word for this. There's not jokes, but it's humor. Sometimes it's kind of like the kind of hidden humor, too. Just like I said, the last comment in it, just saying, I didn't think you were real. And it's Cyborg being serious. And then Batman makes this kind of like wisecrack saying, only when I need to be. And, things like that. So I like that. And, like I said, it's obviously going to be, not just a campy kind of summer movie, if you will, or actually it's going to be in the fall. I'm sorry, November fall movie. Blockbuster movie, it's just like, oh, well, let's go save the world. Let's go do this. I'm back and I'm just recruiting together a little jolly team of superheroes and yada, yada, yada. No, it's nothing like that. It's still, Ben Affleck still playing Batman, almost along the same idea, but obviously he's probably not going to be killing this time. Spoiler alert, if I had to guess. So we'll see what happens with that. Like I said, I didn't expect us to have a teaser this much. I was hoping just for the clip, and I didn't think Warner Brothers would be releasing this clip right away. They did the same thing with Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice last year at Comic-Con, and they released the second trailer for this. So when Warner Brothers does premiere something at Comic-Con, it does seem that they always do put it out there. They did the same thing for Wonder Woman. And they've done the same thing for Suicide Squad. So that brings me to Suicide Squad. This past week they've had like these, and when I say Warner Brothers has been releasing these like TV spots where they kind of do an introduction to the character. They've done one for Deadshot with Will Smith in there. One of the TV spots I particularly liked was obviously the Harley Quinn one, mainly because I'm a big fan of Margot Robbie, obviously. So what's going on to set this up for you is, if you haven't seen it, that, Harley Quinn is riding up this elevator. She's holding her baseball bat. She's kind of has this kind of like, kind of like this kind of like happy kind of gloaty look in her face. And all of a sudden she receives this text from the Joker, and it says, "Be ready, be there soon." And, she kind of is like, "Aw," like that. And then all of a sudden this monster pops out of the glass into the elevator. She starts fighting with it, kicks its ass, and all of a sudden, she just walks out of the elevator, and the rest of the Suicide Squad, Will Smith, everybody else is there. And, she's like, "What?" And kind of just like walks past them and so forth. And then it goes into her little song about, and it's the song, it's like, "Don't tell me what to do," and I don't remember who sings it, but that seems to be her theme for it. And we see a couple more shots of her fighting in it, but I mean, I just like that part in particular. Another good one was obviously the new Joker one, because we got to see a lot more of the Joker in this TV spot. With this TV spot, what the biggest thing in particular I will say is that it sets up the Joker. It kind of starts him off, and it's an interesting one because we've heard this quote before in other Batman movies, but just like, "Where is she?" And he does it kind of in that deep voice, but what makes it funny is it's like he used a Sharpie marker and drew black around his lips, or around just out on the outside of his lips, and it's like, what is he doing? What is he talking about? And then it goes into, and I'm sure you'll remember this when the quote from one of the trailers saying, "I can't wait to show you my toys." And then it's kind of like this guy saying, sitting in a chair, and Joker's actually talking to him and saying, "Blah, blah, blah. All that chit-chat's going to get you hurt." And, that's when he goes into that comment. And, after that, one scene we actually see in here is, and it's the scene we've seen in pictures at least. It's of Harley Quinn, and she's in Arkham Asylum, and they're in this room. It's like an interrogation room, and she's sitting in there with the Joker. It's when she's more like Harleen Quinzel as opposed to being turned into Harley Quinn. And I guess it's when the Joker turns her, and Joker is in his suit, in this white suit where he can't move his arms or anything. I forget what it's called off the top of my head. Make a long story short, he has this $1 million smile. He just like kind of, I can't even describe it because you obviously have to see it to understand what it is, but it's hilarious. I love it. And then they break into the whole Bohemian Rhapsody for the rest of the TV spot. We see a couple more things in there of him, and definitely some TV spots to check out. I don't think they're they're spoilery at all, I guess, if that would be the word. When going back to San Diego Comic-Con, I did want to talk about this, and there were some comments that were made by Will Smith as well as the director, David Ayer. Will Smith was saying kind of like what drew him, they were asking what drew Will Smith to this movie, and he was saying that David Ayer described it as not just a movie about, it's not going to be a movie about good versus bad, it's more about a movie about bad versus evil, and he liked the spin that was put on that. So it's kind of like bad guys trying to do the good thing. And David Ayer went on to explain this, saying it's about people who have been told they're bad their whole life, and that they discover they can come together and have a family, love each other, and do some amazing good things with their lives. And he said that can be anybody, and it obviously is going to be kind of one of those movies about characters and personas, like in a way like a character study, if you will. And I like that. I really like that. I mean, of course, I would love nothing more than just an action movie. But when I watch an action movie, in my mind, I like seeing character development or having a backstory. Even if it is flashbacks, I like kind of seeing like, well, what makes this character this character? That's why I love Batman so much. That's why I love James Bond so much, because especially more recently, we kind of have an idea what drives this person to do such a thing, or what made them become this. So I'm really going to be interested to see it from the bad guy perspective. So another clip, it looks like that they released there too, was to set this one up, was that they were doing, so the purple Lamborghini that the Joker drives, we've seen this in trailers before also, and we know that him and Harley Quinn are in there, and they're driving, and then all of a sudden they're kind of speeding around. Looks like, I'm going to guess it's Gotham City. It has to be Gotham City, because all of a sudden what pops up behind them but Batman pops up behind him in the Batmobile, and the new Batmobile that is, and all of a sudden Batman puts it like in this autopilot, and all of a sudden you hear this thing on the roof, and it jumps up and ends up being Batman on there. And the funniest quote out of this was, from Harley Quinn. It was Margot Robbie saying, "Stupid bats, you're ruining date night." And obviously that's a really bad Harley Quinn impression, so don't judge me on that anyway. But yeah, it just shows you that, obviously that kind of humor is being done, and to me, I count that as humor. That's the kind of humor I like, because it's a really kind of a dark humor, because she makes this comment, and what does she do? She's trying to kill Batman, and yeah, that's kind of a dark kind of humor, and I enjoy that kind of stuff, and I think that most of you all do enjoy that as well. So I'm really looking forward to that. As for that, like I said, less than 2 weeks till Suicide Squad, so keep counting down the days, guys, because it's almost there. Now, on to the Ben Affleck solo Batman film. So even before San Diego Comic-Con this week, we were getting rumors about Ben Affleck's solo Batman film, and there might actually be like kind of an idea of what's going to be happening with this. And we had always heard rumors that they're going to include not one, not two, but multiple villains in this. It's like, well, how are you going to do that? Is it going to be like the Adam West Batman TV show? And it's like, well, he's not going to do that. He knows what he's doing, or at least I like to think he does after seeing his films and how he portrays the character and how much respect he has for this. And this is according to Batman on Film and BatmanNews.com. Ben Affleck may find himself locked up in Arkham Asylum in his solo Batman movie. This wouldn't be a straight-up adaptation of Batman Arkham Asylum video game or the graphic novel by Grant Morrison. Affleck has said that his Batman movie will borrow elements from the previous Batman stories, but that he'll be telling an original story. This rumor lines up where they were talking about a couple months ago, like I said, about a whole bunch of famous villains making appearances and so forth. So it almost sounds like, and a lot of people were saying that it could be kind of about Ben Affleck, Batfleck, whatever you want to call him. See, I get him. It's one of the same in a way. Let's just say Batman is locked up in Arkham Asylum and is trying to get his way out of there. In a way, it sounds like it's like a Die Hard movie where you have Batman like against all these villains and so forth. So I would really, really find that interesting, only because we've got, there's so many different interpretations. So many stories have been told about Batman already in the movie. So trying to put an interesting spin on that, is already got to be tough enough. And Ben Affleck did make this remark at Comic-Con about that, and he had this to say. It's really inspiring taking on something like this character and the stories. The only thing that analogs it into drama is a great play that has been done a bunch of times before, and so you have history of these incredible artists who have done it in amazing ways and expectations of the fans who have seen and reinvented it again and again. And magnificently and aspiring ways, and there's a tremendous amount of pressure, and there's a tremendous amount of work that has already gone into it, but it's terrifying and inspiring, and it's because it's one of the most iconic and fascinating characters certainly ever created in American drama, and I'm deeply honored and thrilled to do it. So there you have it, and like I said, we already kind of knew this before, that Ben Affleck's being very careful about this. He wants to have the right story. He wants to, barring elements from another Batman movie or other Batman stories, that's already been done before, obviously, because there's so much material out there. You guys that read the comics and so forth, you obviously know more about it than I do, but putting a different interpretation of Batman on film is always going to be tough. I mean, we obviously saw that even in Batman v Superman, in not just the costume, not just the Batmobile, and not just the voice, but just kind of how, but we saw a different Batman. We saw kind of a beaten down, kind of one who takes prescription. He drinks wine at the very beginning, when he wakes up in the morning and so forth, and he's willing to kill. So now you have this Batman, and it's, like I said, it's going to be a question of, is this the Batman that happened before Batman v Superman, or is it going to be after? I'd really still banking that he's going to do a story like kind of almost like a prequel, if you will, to Batman v Superman, and which is, let me get this out there too. I wish that they would have done the solo Batman film before Batman v Superman. I think I've said it before, but I'll say it again. They really should have had that. You could have tied all that stuff that had in Batman v Superman, all like the backstory of Bruce Wayne and, Batman in there about his family getting killed and so forth. Even though we've seen it multiple dozens of times already, it's okay to have it in there. But I think they should have focused on that, separately. But, I'm going off on a tangent there. But besides the point though, at Comic-Con, as we're looking at just the Batman related material off this, I think this is great news. This is excellent news. I'm really excited about this. Ben Affleck, let's just look at Ben Affleck, for example. He has that passion for this. He takes it very seriously, like I said. And, David Ayer, I can tell that, he takes this material very seriously. He said he was a comic book fan when he was growing up. And to be able to do something like this, like I said before, about having these characters and kind of the situation that he's putting them in, bad guys having to do something, for the greater good. An interesting spin to a superhero movie, something kind of seen before. And the only reason I would say is Deadpool, but that's obviously a different movie than Deadpool, so it's comparing to oranges, but people will still do that. In addition to that, with Justice League, I'm excited. A little nervous. Yeah, I'd be a liar if I said I wasn't nervous. The song that they played in the trailer, I guess it's something Zack Snyder's done before with his movie trailers, aside from when he did Man of Steel and Batman v Superman, was he actually played kind of a rock music in there, and he played White Stripes' Iggy Thump, and I was like, oh, I know that song. Oh my God, they're playing White Stripes in here. I was like, this is interesting. And it kind of set the tone for that trailer. And like I said, if you want to call damage control for those of you that didn't like Batman v Superman, then sure, this could be damage control saying, Warner Brothers and DC Entertainment saying, hey, what's done is done. We're moving past what happened in Batman v Superman because, some people didn't react to that. They didn't like the dark or just the too serious tone in there. We're going to have it a little lighter in here, and we're keeping our promise, and this is what you're going to get. What you see, just in this is what you can expect to see in the movie next November. So, real excited about all this. One other thing I did want to mention that came out of Comic-Con was the Lego Batman movie. Yeah, I never get a chance to talk about this. I always forget about this. First of all, I really like the Lego Batman character that Will Arnett did, or at least that he voiced in the Lego movie. If you guys haven't had a chance to see that, as a Batman fan, it's really cool to see because he's being Batman, but it's just a funny spin on Batman. The fact that they're doing a Lego Batman movie I'm really interested in this because I don't think we've ever seen anything like this before, not to my knowledge anyway. The trailer was the first teaser trailer, while we didn't have a chance to talk about it, just says, from the studio that brought you Batman, Batman Returns, Batman Forever, Batman and Robin, Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, Dark Knight Rises, and then it has, and then Batman v Superman, and then it has Lego Batman, and what he does is he's microwaving his food, and it portrays Batman as this very lonely, character and so forth, and it continues that in this second trailer. And Alfred ends up kind of saying, no, I'm not going to do this for you. You need to kind of be more social in a way because, and like I said, they're almost mocking Batman because what is Batman known for? He's known for doing things on his own and being by himself and so forth. So, it ends up being a story, and let me read the synopsis before I go any further here. This is the official synopsis for the Lego Batman movie. In the irreverent spirit of fun that made the Lego movie a worldwide phenomenon, the self-described leading man of that ensemble, Lego Batman, stars in his own big screen adventure. But there are big changes brewing in Gotham if he wants to save the city from the Joker's hostile takeover. Batman may have to drop the lone vigilante thing and try to work with others and maybe, just maybe, learn to lighten up. And that's what's, like I said, that's obviously, as a Batman fan, you know that Batman takes himself very seriously. If he does, joke around, it's like the very kind of like sarcastic way. With this, it's showing that same thing, but like I said, they're kind of poking fun at him. So what does he do? He brings a kid in. He adopted a kid, I think it was, and it ends up being Robin, and he's kind of showing Robin the ways, he's teaching him the ways, he brings him into the Batmobile, and Robin makes this comment in there saying, "Where are the seatbelts?" And Batman says, it very seriously, the music stops, says, "The first lesson is, life doesn't give you seatbelts." And it was hilarious. And like I said, this is, if there's any kind of movie, that always gets forgotten, it's that, there's animated Batman movies. Like I said, I count this as an animated movie, and, I always forget that animated Batman movies are there. Like I said, actually, Batman Killing Joke will be the first full Batman animated movie I've ever had a chance to see, so I'm looking forward to that. So just knowing that there's more Batman material out there, I'm loving this. I'm loving every minute of it. So like I said, San Diego Comic-Con, I definitely want to make my way out there because all this kind of news is out there. And just for the fun of it, seeing all the cosplay that's out there. I mean, I saw online a lot of the, obviously there's Harley Quinn is going to be the most popular costume out there for the ladies right now, and I'm all for it. There's Batmans out there. There was Jokers. There's a Riddler out there. There was somebody dressed as Bane. I posted a few pictures that I was able to find. That's on Instagram at Batman vs. Bond. Check that out. If you have, and I still throw this out there, if you are going to any Comic-Cons, no matter where it is, send me your pictures and I'll post them online. I'll tag you and, definitely give you a shout out on there. I really enjoy cosplay, so definitely do that. So moving on here into a different change of pace. So we haven't talked about James Bond in a while, at least any new news. Because there really hasn't been any news, and I do apologize about that, but I think even the Bond fans understand that, no news is good news right now, and when it comes to a James Bond movie, sometimes there can be a 2-year gap, sometimes there can be a 4-year gap, sometimes there's been longer gaps, and I hope this doesn't fall into the latter, but we're about to find out. So according to The Sun, it's a UK tabloid, it said in a gossip column, and this can only be taken as a rumor, I'm calling it a rumor anyway, is that EM Productions co-boss Barbara Broccoli isn't hurrying to make Bond 25 and still hopes to convince Daniel Craig, who's age 48, to return as James Bond. The tabloid quoted a source, and it didn't identify them, but it did say the following: Barbara is not going to be rushed into a Bond and wants to work on 2 other film projects next year. It will give her time to work out a script and try to convince Daniel to maybe return. So, like I said, let's treat this as a rumor, but let's just say that this is true. Okay, well, it depends on the script. I mean, do we know if the screenwriter John Logan ever, intended to, have a follow-up to, say, Spectre? Or if even Dan, I still say that movie can be the ending of that movie. If you haven't seen Spectre, spoiler it real quick. James Bond driving off with Madeline Swan into the sunset in the Aston Martin. To me, I can take that as an ending. I can say, okay, well, if they were going to stop right here, then okay, I can live with it. Of course, I want more. But, if this ends up being, the end to a James Bond movie, I mean, I like the happily ever afters. I mean, I don't know who doesn't, but sometimes you like, who knows, maybe you like the sad ending. Maybe you don't want Bond to get the girl, or at least Daniel Craig's James Bond to get the girl, because he never has. In this case, I like how he finally did, and there was more emphasis on that. Now, what if this is true, and this goes into my speculation about Bond 25, which direction they could go into? I say, just bring him back one more time. He ends up, going off to marry Madeline Swan, kind of like how in On Her Majesty's Secret Service, Blofeld somehow escapes, and then all of a sudden, he kills Madeline Swan, and Bond, has to go on a revenge to find Blofeld, and, something like that. That would be my pitch for a story. Maybe I need to draft that up in the next week and just, send that over to Barbara Broccoli. Say, hey, I have your script. Now get Daniel Craig back in there and let's finish this Bond movie series. And then you can move on, because we're not finished with them. And I love online that how people are doing like this. It's not a petition, but they're posting this picture of bring back Daniel Craig for one more Bond film. Bring him back for Bond 25. And like I said, guys, I really would like him to be back for Bond 25. I really, truly would. But given everything that's going on with Daniel Craig, I still say that I don't see him returning, but, and how Spectre did end, I think it kind of like, okay, well, I'm done with this. I left it and I was a co-producer and I'm kind of done with it. So if we're, like I always keep saying, if it's over, it's over. Let's just get official word and then on to the next Bond actor or on with the next story. So there you have it. So now bringing back something we haven't done in a while, birthdays and anniversaries. We haven't had a chance to do this because there was so much going on in the last couple of weeks, because mainly I did all villains episode, but I did not want to leave out some birthdays, and I'm going to rush through them pretty quick, but I'll do what I can here. So Andreas Wisniewski, who played Necros in Living Daylights, celebrated a birthday on July 3rd. Ava Green, who played Vesper Lynn in Casino Royale, celebrated a birthday on July 5th. Yeah, definitely woman crush every day. Yeah, my favorite Bond girl. Yep. Jack White, who did the song to Quantum of Solace, Another Way to Die, he celebrated a birthday on July 9th. Let's see. Catherine Schell, who played Nancy in On Her Majesty's Secret Service, celebrated a birthday on July 17th. Diana Rigg, who played Tracy DaVincio, a.k.a. Tracy Bond, in On Her Majesty's Secret Service, celebrated a birthday on July 20th. Chris Cornell, who did the main song for Casino Royale, You Know My Name, celebrates a birthday on July 20th. And Claudio Santamaria, who played Carlos in Casino Royale, celebrates a birthday on July 22nd. Maria Grazia Kukinoda, sorry if I didn't pronounce that correctly, she played the cigar girl in The World Is Not Enough, celebrates a birthday on July 27th. Giancarlo Gianni, who played Mathis in Casino Royale and Quantum of Solace, celebrates a birthday on August 1st. And sorry if I pronounced this incorrectly, Maria Grazia Kukanada, who played the cigar girl in The World's Not Enough, celebrates a birthday on July 27th. There are your July birthdays. Happy birthday to all of you. Okay, so moving on to anniversaries here. There were two big anniversaries that happened this month. Yeah, I kind of teased it this last couple weeks or whatever. Yeah, The Dark Knight came out on July 18th last week. How about that? And it was released in 2008. Now, I don't know about you, and you know, I can't wait to do a full episode review on this movie. And like I said, I watched a little bit of it today. I'm supposed to be packing or unpacking and moving stuff, but when my wife wasn't watching, I snuck in the Blu-ray and just turned it on for a few minutes. And that bank robbery scene, oh, what a scene that is! And just Heath Ledger as Joker. But yeah, something about The Dark Knight, and you know, everybody says it's the definitive comic book movie. It's the Godfather of comic book movies, and to that I would definitely agree. And I don't think it feels like a comic book movie. Without going into a review for it, I will say it's more a crime drama. Definitely more character driven. You know, action movies, so forth. We usually get like kind of we get a backstory on the good guy and the, you know, sometimes the bad guy and so forth. But this is all about the characters in this and the action in this. I still say it's great. I still say it holds up after 8 years. I can't believe it's 8 years old. But if you haven't ever seen The Dark Knight, definitely stop what you're doing, go watch that movie, and enjoy. So now the next anniversary, which wasn't too far behind, is actually The Dark Knight Rises. And it was the end of the Christopher Nolan trilogy for The Dark Knight. And, you know, I like to say that they ended off well. I know a lot of people don't like this movie. I'm still trying to figure out why. You know, I went into a Comic-Con convention about... I think it was last year, as a matter of fact, and you know, I mentioned something about The Dark Knight Rises, and I'm like, and they're like, "Oh, that's such a bad Batman movie." I was like, "Well, did you see Batman and Robin?" And that's comparing apples to oranges anyway. But I will say this with The Dark Knight Rises, you know, given everything, I think The Dark Knight is probably the highest bar. The Dark Knight Rises had such a strong act to follow that it wasn't able to do that. And I think it's overlooked because of, you know, what The Dark Knight did. But overall, as a movie, I think it tied up the story really well. Sure, it had some plot holes. Sure, it had some things that, you know, that were just okay. But I think overall, you know, I think that, you know, I loved, you know, I still love the action sequences in there. I love the villain. I love the Bruce Wayne story in there. I love some of the scenes, and they're not even the action scenes that are in there between Michael Caine and Christian Bale. At least a couple of those scenes in there, Michael Caine nearly made me cry. I think I did almost shed a tear in one of them, and you'll understand when you see the movie if you haven't already. But yeah, definitely two movies to check out. I mean, check out the whole, you know, Dark Knight trilogy if you've never seen it before. You're in for a treat. I can't wait to watch it with my wife. I don't think she's ever seen any of those before, and you know, even if you're not a Batman fan, I think you will enjoy it. If you know, for the ladies or for the guys, you know, to show your ladies if they've never watched a Batman movie, I would say this would probably be the better one. Ladies, if your boyfriend has never seen this movie or any of the Batman movies, and I wouldn't understand why, then, show him this trilogy. I think that you'll have a better understanding of the Batman character. Sure, it's probably not exactly how the comics did it, and that's okay. I think that overall it does paint a good portrayal of the Batman character and what drives him to be. So, moving on to the final segment of the show, this is Versus. So, this is the part of the show where we compare movies of the Batman or James Bond universes versus other franchises in the same wheelhouse. Yeah, it's been a while. I did miss this segment. I love this segment, as a matter of fact. That's why I do it. So last time I remember doing Versus, which was a couple episodes ago, it was Quantum of Solace versus The Bourne Supremacy. And the polls had showed that Quantum of Solace was the big winner with this. No surprise there because, if you're listening to this, you're obviously a James Bond fan. This week's Versus, and I decided to change it up a little bit. It's going to be The Dark Knight versus Skyfall. Yeah, I wanted to do a little bit of a Batman versus James Bond because, heck, that's what this show is called, Batman versus James Bond. So there. The comparisons are always out there, especially, after Skyfall came out about 4 years later after The Dark Knight, same year as The Dark Knight Rises. I even remember the trailer for Skyfall in IMAX being attached to The Dark Knight Rises, and that was such a great treat because not only am I getting something from Batman, I'm also getting some stuff from James Bond in the same movie theater, which I know will never ever happen again, probably. Besides the point, though, I know I just talked about The Dark Knight and, everything. It's a crime drama. It's, the bad guy, is just this terrorist and so forth. And he's trying, Batman is trying to decide, should I go on? And, I don't know how to beat this guy because he keeps outsmarting me and so forth. And when I'm saying that, I'm almost describing Skyfall in a way, the director, Sam Mendes, and the writers, even said that they kind of, used, or The Dark Knight was kind of their inspiration, if you will, to do Skyfall. Sam Mendes even made the comment saying, everything that Nolan did with the Batman trilogy, or the Dark Knight trilogy, it's like, oh, well, you can have an action movie, but you can have these characters, these actual real characters in a movie like this. And that's exactly what he tried to do in Skyfall. Even if it wasn't based on The Dark Knight, in a way, or if it had those elements, I still love Skyfall. I can see a few Batman, things in there. Even if it comes to the villain, Mr. Silva and the Joker, even going into the villains, I kind of said, hey, Silva is in a way, the Joker to a point, but he's not quite obsessed with James Bond as the Joker is with Batman. But both of these movies, I will definitely say that the villain steals the show from any time that they are on screen. Obviously, the Joker does with all his memorable quotes. Silva does, and he has some memorable quotes in there too. And they're both not about and I keep saying this, is the world domination. It's just they're terrorists that are out just to kind of get revenge in a way, or at least Silva is, and to them it's more just like a game for them, and you have the hero kind of broken down and trying to build themselves back up. So like I said, let me know what you think about this week's Versus, The Dark Knight versus Skyfall. I know for the Bond fans, I know which one you'll probably pick, and as for the Batman fans, I know which one you'll probably pick. I'm really interested to see what the results are going to be for this. I will make sure I post the poll on Twitter. So, that about wraps it up for this episode of the Batman vs. James Bond show. Yeah, we made it. Ooh, that was a long episode, wasn't it? Yeah. Please subscribe on iTunes and or Spreaker. Make sure that you rate this show and leave a comment. 5 martini glasses, 5 bat signals, whatever you do, please rate the show. Just take a moment on there. I'd really appreciate it. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Batman vs. Bond, and like me on the Batman vs. James Bond Facebook page. I will throw this out there again. If you are interested in being a guest on the show, please direct message me and we can set something up. Before I forget, once again, programming note, next week it'll be a Batman Killing Joke review, and then a week after that, it will be Suicide Squad. Yay. Anyway, like James Bond, I will return. Thank you for listening, and until next time, peace out. Have a great week, everybody.